It is Sunday, September the 7th, 2025, opening day of the NFL season. You're watching Coffee with Frankie. And before we get started, we always like to play the Frankie from Flatbush theme song.
Frankie from Flatbush rides the Brooklyn line. Got a swagger sharp like a vintage wine. Everybody knows his name from porch to stoop. Hustling dreams in every loop. In the park he struts, hits the handball wall. Echoes hear the stories when the shadows fall. Got 1,000 tales and a confident grin. On the streets of Flatbush where legends begin. Frankie from Flatbush got the city glow, lighting up the borough with his every show. He's the heart of Brooklyn, never laying low. Frankie from Flatbush, always on the go. Bodega lights flicker when Frankie's near. He's got the rhythm, everybody cheers. Corner talks and sidewalk chalks his fame. In the Flatbush breeze you'll hear his name. Underneath the subway on the magic's real. Frankie's moves got that electric feel. From Atlantic Avenue to the urban hill, Flatbush Frankie's giving you a thrill. Frankie from Flatbush got the city glow, lighting up the borough with his every show. He's the heart of Brooklyn, never laying low. Frankie from Flatbush, always on the go. Bodega lights flicker when Frankie's near, lighting up the borough with his every show. He's the heart of Brooklyn, never laying low. Frankie from Flatbush, always on the go. Frankie from Flatbush got the city glow, lighting up the borough with his every show. He's the heart of Brooklyn, never laying low. Frankie from Flatbush, always on the go. Always on the go. Always on the go. Always on the go.
All right, let's get started on a Sunday. Anthony G is here. Good to see Anthony G. Good to see Todd is here. Howdy. Phil Adams confirming. Audio visual 100%. How about the bell? We got the bell here on the Coffee with Frankie show. And by the way, here's the coffee. I am the Frankie. Glad to have you folks here in the chat. It's opening day. Mark Sicchetti, Jet fan living in Pittsburgh, originally from West Hempstead. Well, I feel sorry for you, Mark, that you have to live in Pittsburgh. If you didn't know, I used to live in Pittsburgh for 6 years and did not have a good time. Let's put it that way. One of the worst places to live in America. So I hope you're making out okay there in Pittsburgh, Mark. If you have a chance, go down to the south side and check out the Pittsburgh Steelers facility. Now, Woody's here. Brian Goldstein, B. Goldie here. Good to see you. Lupinetti says, hey, you can't ring a bell and not think of Le'Veon Bell. What about all the other Bells in sports? There's other people named Bell. You got to think outside of the Jets, Lupinetti. You know? Sometimes we got to think outside of the Jet world, even though it's hard for Jet fans to do that sometimes. There's other Bells. Mark says, I'm in the East End. All right. I don't know how the East End is relative to other things. I kind of kept to my own area. Pittsburgh. Oh, boy. Oy. But anyway, what's going on in the NFL is it's opening day. even though opening Sunday, I guess you could say. There have already been 2 games played. The Chiefs lost. That was fun to watch yesterday, Friday that was. It's already Sunday. Time is flying by. So the Chiefs lost. The Eagles won, beating the Cowboys, but the Cowboys played pretty well against the Eagles. If not for CeeDee Lamb dropping passes all over the place, maybe the Cowboys could have pulled out a surprise win against the Eagles. Although the Eagles didn't have one of their key players, got thrown out and spit-caked Jalen Carter. So memo to all the players out there: stop spitting on each other. Can we stop spitting? Thank you. But nonetheless, the Cowboys were able to hang in there with the champs, although that was also a weird game because of the lightning delay and all that. But nonetheless, Cowboys hung in there but could not pull off a win because CeeDee Lamb was dropping passes too much. And, this is a man they paid $34 million, and he's just eating dropsicles all the time. So that's not good. But then the next game was in Sao Paulo, Brasilia, and we got to watch Justin Herbert put on a show and play really well. And the fighting Jim Harbaughs defeated your Kansas Swiftie Chiefs. And all the Kansas Swiftie Chiefs were yelling at each other, including Travis Kelce, who seems to be a hothead, at least on the field. If you remember, yelling at Andy Reid in the Super Bowl that time. Now he was yelling at an offensive lineman who, committed a penalty. He's yelling and screaming and, maybe calm down with the steroids a little bit there, Travis. And then you had, of course, Drew Tranquill, who was not tranquil at all. He was very upset with Chris Jones, one of the best players in the NFL and one of the strongest. So we're going to be yelling and screaming at someone. I give you a lot of credit for yelling and screaming at Chris Jones, who can basically tear your head off. He's so strong. But nonetheless, they're yelling and screaming and upset and crying and fighting and all upset. And you love to see it. You love to see the Kansas Swiftie Chiefs in full disarray. Now, there was also a significant injury in that game. Xavier Worthy, for those who might have him on fantasy or what have you, or just like him following his career, it's looking like he has a dislocated shoulder now. And that was something ran into Travis Kelce, or Travis Kelce ran into him. Maybe Travis Kelce should be upset with himself for running into a teammate. And the team has now said he has dislocated the shoulder. So he will probably be out at least 3 weeks, could be longer, and it could be season ending, all depending on the severity of this shoulder injury for Mr. Worthy. So it looks like as of now, minimum of 3 games, could be 4 to 6 games if it's moderate. And if it's severe, well, that means he gets surgery and out for the season. So that's what's going on in the NFL so far, the first couple of days. As far as the Jets are concerned, they have Mike Garafolo out there. The NFL Network has both Mike Garafolo and Judy Batista. Judy Batista usually covers us. I think Garafolo usually covers the Giants, but he's also based in Jersey, like a lot of these idiots. So why we got to have 2 of them there and most of the teams only have 1, I don't know. But Garafolo is talking about Vinny Testaverde told Judy Batista that the former teammates will be here to support Aaron Glenn, so forth and so on. Very nice. And the defense did some self-scouting on Aaron Rodgers from, when he was with us, so forth and so on. So those are the types of reports that are being filed. And Rich Cimini is now reporting as of 5 minutes ago that there's nothing like opening day. This is Rich Cimini's 39th opening day. Maybe time for retirement, Richie. But he says the rain has stopped. So I guess it's been raining in Jersey. Of course, one of the few places, I would say Pittsburgh, probably one of the worst places to live in America. And then close second worst would be New Jersey. But he says the rain has finally stopped. So we'll see. It might be another rain game. So that's always fun to watch. Yeah, right. But it does seem that every home game we have, it does rain. So that's the latest. That's the latest right now. Phil Adams on tender hooks, waiting to hear if wife has made world champions in Florida. What? What are you talking about, Phil? World champions in what sport? Pickleball? What are we talking about, Phil? Goldstein. Yeah, Herbo, despite, I mean, he has like the most passing yards his first 5 seasons in NFL history or something like that. So he has been injured a little bit, but they all get injured these days, Goldstein. It's not like the old days. They play way more not way more. They play more games and they don't have as many steroids. So, yeah. Yeah, so Goldstein brings up another good point. The broadcasters today are Ian Eagle, which is fine. He's fair. But then J.J. Watt is doing the color commentary, and of course, he's the brother of T.J. Watt. So, not that it matters much. You know, people should watch the watch along with old Frankie because then you don't have to have the sound on and you don't have to listen to J.J. Watt and listen to his biased opinion. Although I'm sure he's going to try to be, objective. Obviously, everybody knows he's his brother. So, in a certain sense, it might be good because maybe J.J. Watt will just be like overly fair. And because everybody knows, I mean, it's right in the name, right? So, and this is one of his first games. I think J.J. Watt is starting to get, into the broadcasting thing now. So he's starting to get his career going with that. And does he really want to be perceived as overly biased toward the Steelers? Maybe he'll play it down the middle. So I would say that. And then also watch the watch along. There will be a watch along on this channel, this very channel, later today, 1 p.m. We're going to do a watch along because Green Bean and Jeremy and a bunch of other people are like Alan Dodds. They're all going to be at MetLife Stadium watching the game live. So they're not going to be live streaming, of course. So we're going to live stream right here on the Frankie channel. Join at 1 p.m. We'll be doing our drive charts and we'll keep track of the game. And that way you could listen to old Frankie. And, you don't have to worry about what J.J. Watt is saying or what Ian Eagle is doing and all these people. So I would say that. Joe Mike is here. Yeah, the offseason's over, Joe. But you notice Jadeveon Clowney didn't sign. I expect a low-scoring game and at least 4 sacks on Rodgers. Yeah, everybody's talking about the sacking on Rodgers. We'll see how it goes. But, actually, player acquisition's never really over. Well, let's be honest. It's never really over. The attrition has just started. There's going to be attrition. There's going to be injuries. That's the way it goes. And, hey. But for the most part, New Jersey sucks. The whole state has New York envy. I don't know about that. New York is going to hell in a handbasket. But the thing about New York is you have New York City, which is one thing, and then you have upstate New York. And if you like the leafy, kind of rural-ish life of upstate New York, that's a different animal. Then you have New York City, which is its own separate animal. It used to be great. I don't know if it's great anymore. Wall Street and all. But I don't know. New Jersey just sucks on a lot of levels. B. Trav is here. Phil Adams says DECA Team Fitness National Championship held here in UK today. Top 15 across the planet will make the Worlds in Florida. Okay, but what is DECA Team Fitness? You think we know what that means? I assume it's some sort of athletic pursuit, but I don't know. What is it? Jumping jacks? Push-ups? Sit-ups? What are we doing? Is it a decathlon? What's happening? Archery shooting? We don't know. Well, good luck to the wife, to Mrs. Adams, Mrs. Phil Adams. They don't say that anymore, right? In the old days, they would say Mrs. Phil Adams or Mrs. Robert Smith or whatever. They don't really say that anymore. Don't they? B-Trav says, I'll have the live stream on. Can't comment much as it's during my part-time gig, but I'll be there as usual. All right, B-Trav, we'll see you there. 1 p.m. on this channel. Woody says they're all supposed to be walking into the stadium backwards. Backwards? Well, we don't have to worry about green bean drinking. We know that. So he should be sober at least. I don't know what you're talking about with the walking backwards, but maybe they're trying out a new way to reverse the jinx, reverse the curse, and so forth and so on. Let's take a look at what some of the... Let's take this caption off of here. Let's take a look at what some of the things that are going on in the media for opening day is happening. As we move on with opening day here on FSPN, the Frankie Sports Programming Network. Let's get some stuff up here so you can see. This is what's going on. Here's Dick Chimney. Now, none of the other beat reporters are really filing much here. I don't know what's going on. Zach Rose. Could be that Connor Hughes is covering the Giants. He covers both. Zach Rosenblatt isn't really doing much, and some of these other people aren't really, well, some I don't have on this list, but here's the stadium. Here's what it looks like. They have 4 new boards. You see one of them here. These giant boards. They have 4 of these. These are new boards and new stuff. You know, there's some other enhancements that they made, not to the food, I guess. But this is the conditions. I guess it's not going to be sunny, so we don't have to worry about people losing the ball in the sun, I guess. But hopefully the rain stays away. But, you know, typical New Jersey weather, you know, crappy, cloudy, you know, nobody's happy about it. Samini says, you know, we need better discipline in penalties, tackling, and catching. Aaron Rodgers is back, so here's Aaron Rodgers arriving at the stadium, talking to people. Hey, how you doing? Hey, good to see you. How you doing? Keep it moving. All right, look at this guy over here. All right, what about this guy? I remember him. All right, this sort of thing going on. And Rosenblatt, for his part, didn't even file a new story today. Now, this is really weird to me. So The Athletic does not have a new Jets story ready for today. It's opening day of the season. And Rosenblatt is reposting his story from a few days ago about Aaron Glenn and all the people talking about Aaron Glenn. They like Aaron Glenn. The Detroit Lions, all the people had high things to say about him, which we already knew. But that was his story, basically, and he's just reposting that one. Not even writing a new story for opening day. Seems a little lazy. Justin Fields is the 39th different quarterback to start for the Jets since Joe Namath. If Fields can be just average, Rich Cimini says, Jets can be a winning team. His QBR last year for Pitt was 48, went 4-2. Last Jets quarterback to post a 50, considered average on a 0 to 100 scale, was McCown in 2017. So, yeah, I mean, that's a good point. If we could just play average, yeah, we got a shot depending on how our injuries shake out. And then this is the only report really filed today, which is by Cimini on ESPN. A look at what's happening around the New York Jets. Deja debut. Aaron Glenn makes his head coaching debut Sunday against the 12th winningest coach in NFL history, Mike Tomlin of the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's a tough way to start, but no tougher than his first game as a player in 1994. Against the Buffalo Bills in Old Giant Stadium, Glenn faced a couple of future Hall of Famers and was tested immediately. On the Bills' first play of scrimmage, Glenn found himself lined up against Andre Reed. Jim Kelly saw it and attacked the rookie cornerback looking for his favorite receiver. The pass was incomplete, a positive harbinger for Glenn. He held his own just that day, just as he did the next 2 weeks against Elway and Marino, a murderer's row of quarterbacks, as then Jets head coach Pete Carroll, now head coach of the Vegas Raiders, said at the outset of the gauntlet, Glenn will find out what the Hall of Fame is all about. Blah, blah, blah. It's extremely, extremely challenging, former Jets linebacker Jason Glenn, Aaron's younger brother, said on the Flight Deck podcast. It's New York, right? Well, really New Jersey, but Jason Glenn, who finished his career with the Vikings, said his brother reminds him of his Vikings DC in 2006. That coach landed his first head coaching job the following year. Glenn knew his old DC would be a success in his new city because you can just tell how some guys fit organizations. As for his big brother, Aaron fits New York. By the way, Jason Glenn's DC in Minnesota, it was Mike Tomlin, hired by Pittsburgh in 2007. Reasons for hope, never say never in the NFL, right? For 35 straight seasons, at least 4 teams have made the playoffs that weren't in the previous postseason. So we got a chance to believe. ABT's uncertain future. Right tackle Armand Membu will be the first Jets rookie offensive lineman to make an opening day start since Elijah Vera Tucker in 2021. The plan was to have them side by side for 2025 and beyond, but Vera Tucker's season-ending triceps tear likely to have far-reaching implications. Prior to the injury, the Jets were interested in extending his contract, which expires after this season. That appears unlikely now. He will probably have to take a 1-year prove-it deal, stay healthy in 2026, and hope to make a free agent score in 2027. Whether it's with the Jets remains to be seen. Rotten luck, talk about people getting injured. Wants to be captain, Sauce Gardner. Gangrene, are the Jets a young team? That's not important. Difference maker, took 355 days from injury to return, but Jermaine Johnson is back from his ruptured Achilles. High motor player, coaches expect him to galvanize. Blah, blah, blah. We'll see. Ready to run, barring injuries. Injury Fields probably will go down as the best running quarterback in Jets history. He averages 50 rushing yards per game. At that pace, he'd break the single-season record, 453 yards in 10 games. And he'd shatter the career mark, 821, Richard Todd, in his 17th game. So basically, the most yards any Jet quarterback has had was Al Doro. Anybody remember Al Doro in 1960? 453 yards. And career rushing yards in a career, Richard Todd had 821. That's our leader. That's interesting. The Jets have played exactly 1,000 regular season games in franchise history. They go all the way back to 1960 when they were the New York Titans. In case you're wondering, their record is 433, 559, and 8, a 437 winning percentage. Not too good. Maybe the second 1,000 will be better. Yeah. Last word, what do they say? The bigger the dragon, the bigger the hero, the better the story. Defensive tackle Harrison Phillips on how much he's looking forward to facing Rodgers. So we'll have to see. Hopefully we can get some good pressure on Mr. Rodgers, force him to throw some incomplete passes or something. So that's really what's going on in the media. So Phil says, Bean agreed to walk into the stadium backwards to break his losing streak. But what makes you think walking backwards is going to do that? Is that a known streak-breaking technique? I mean, why not walk on your hands? What does that have to do with anything? Anthony G., you have anyone coming to do color commentary? No. Nope. In case you haven't noticed, Anthony, this channel is pretty much a solo channel. Don't really have too many people on. And I don't really go on too many people's channels other than Green Bean. And so that's just how we roll here on the Frankie from Flatbush channel. So I'll be doing it. I'll be doing the drive charts. And we'll see how it goes. Should be pretty exciting. The interesting thing about YouTube the other night for the Sao Paulo game was a YouTube exclusive. And YouTube went hog wild with their production. I thought they did a good job. One of the things they did, and in case you didn't notice, they let 4 YouTubers, big, famous, a lot of subscriber YouTubers who are football oriented, like Tom Grossi. Some of you will remember the Grossi Posse invaded one of the live streams on this channel one time. But anyway, the Grossi Posse is very large. She's closing in on 1 million subscribers, but they let him and 3 other YouTubers stream the game live. So it could be on their channel, the actual video feed. And he did his commentary, that he normally does, except, normally, of course, you can't show the game, right? The NFL gave, or I guess YouTube decided to let those 4 creators, content creators, do that. And that was very interesting. Not sure how much value it added, but it was a kind of an experiment in broadcasting that they can do, where it's like, all right, if we get the rights to this game, we also have people like Tom Grossi and 3 others. The 3 others, I don't know them, but I know of Tom. And we can let's select these people who are very popular, and let's give them something of value so that they can add value to this broadcast. I don't know really what the result of that is, but I found it very interesting that YouTube was at least, I think it's a creative idea where it's like, okay, we've acquired this exclusive NFL property, 1 game on this Friday. What can we do with it that's different than the other broadcast partners, than the streamers, than the networks and all this? What can we do as YouTube that's different than these others? And so that's one thing that they came up with. And I thought they did a good job with that. And I also thought they had Kay Adams on there with Cam Newton, who both have YouTube channels, of course. And I thought those 2 did a good job. And so very interesting production by YouTube. They had their logo all over the place, of course. And so we'll see how that all shakes out and see if YouTube winds up acquiring more exclusive games like that. But I thought it was very interesting. And of course, it was a really good game as well. Came right down to the wire, and the Chargers pulled it out. Herbo played great. Mahomes didn't really play great, but had a few incredible plays, of course. So a very interesting game, and the Chiefs went down. So you got to love it. Yeah, well, we're going to have to make some kind of move. And this is very interesting to me. They finally put AVT on the IR list because they knew for a while that he's going to be missing the season. But yesterday, they finally moved him to IR, which meant we're down to 52. Now, they could do something very easy. For example, they could just sign Tyler Johnson back to the 53-man, which would get us up to 53, and then you just need a practice squad player to fill his spot there. That could be option number 1. Option number 2 is we make some kind of move, and there's some reason we're waiting. For example, we could grab somebody like Kenyon Green off waivers. That's not a very exciting maneuver because there's been several teams that have given up on him already, even though he was a first-round pick. It's looking like a bust. But he went on waivers from the Eagles yesterday, so it could be that we are claiming him on waivers and putting him on the 53-man as a backup guard. He's a guard. So that could be coming, or there could be a trade. I would think there's probably not going to be a trade, very unlikely, but it's possible. So what is the next, thing? I don't know. Don't know. Rich Eisen. Yeah, Eisen's okay. Kurt Warner is okay. I would grade them as all right, not top tier, but not terrible. I think Eisen, it's weird to me that they have to pull Rich Eisen in to do that. Like, that's not his thing. He, it's amazing to me that they don't have more broadcasting talent available to them. Now, Rich Eisen is a name, so he's a brand. So when they're looking for these people, part of it is, are you a brand? Are you going to be able to bring your fans of your brand into the broadcast. If you just get Joe Schmo out of Syracuse University who just graduated, but he may be great, and maybe he's done minor league baseball, and maybe he's done, some weird football league, and he's sort of working his way up, but nobody's heard of him, right? It's Joe Schmo, a graduate of Syracuse University. That person doesn't bring any fans with him to the broadcast. Rich Eisen does, because he has a big show. He used to be on ESPN. Everybody knows who Rich Eisen is. So when you have Rich Eisen in the booth, the idea is not necessarily the quality of his broadcasting, although that's passable, I would say. It's let's bring the brand of Rich Eisen into the booth because whatever extra people who like Rich Eisen would watch the show, let's bring them along. I kind of hate that because really people watch the game because they want to watch the game. I don't think people really want to watch Rich Eisen, but that's the idea when these executives get together and trying to figure out who should we have. I would rather have a great broadcaster who just knows how to broadcast. Like, for example, Bob Wischusen, right? Our radio guy. He's excellent. And he also does college football, and he's excellent at that. Whatever he broadcasts, he's excellent. But he doesn't have fans. Like, nobody watches the game because of Rich Wischusen. What's his name? Bob Wischusen. I don't even know his name. It flies out of my head. Right? But when he's broadcasting, you're like, oh, okay, cool. He's doing this game. Okay, all right, good. He's fantastic. And of course, he's best with the Jets, I think, but because that's his main thing. But he's not going to bring extra people, and there's no perception that he's going to bring extra people. Whereas with Rich Eisen, when you hire him, you think, all right, he's going to bring extra people. Kay Adams, has a brand, and you figure, okay, she's going to bring extra people who want to look at Kay Adams. And Cam Newton is a famous football player, former MVP, but he also has a very popular YouTube channel. May have multiple channels. And so, the thought is, well, all the people who watch him on YouTube, let's bring that audience over here. So that's the idea of trying to get just more people to watch the damn thing and get the ratings up. And ratings are something that's going to be very interesting this year, because I did a video a few months ago about this, and nobody watched it. Because why should we watch a video about television ratings, Frankie? We want to know about football. But I did this video, and it was very interesting because the NFL had a slight dip, very slight for them, in their ratings of some of the playoff games where the Chiefs were involved. And the interesting thing about that is those ratings include the Swifties. And the Swifties, because of Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, the Swifties are a very, very big economic engine. Like, there's nothing like it, almost. Some of these boy and girl bands from other countries like Korea has had some of these things in the past, but Taylor Swift now has one of the biggest fan bases in the world, and they're very loyal, and they move economies. Like, when she decides to go on tour, economies of whole countries where she's going to go on tour in elevate because she went on tour there, and there's so much economic activity around that, going to the concerts, buying the merch, the hotel, the Swifties buy all the hotels, eat at the restaurants, blah, blah, blah. All the economic activity associated with that is a real thing. It is so big that it is very real. And so the NFL is taking advantage of this, of course, now, and was last year when they were still together, and they're still together now. But the issue was that the games had a slight decrease in viewership year over year. Now, it was still extremely high, and they still did very well. But the question is, if it wasn't for the Swifties, where would that rating be? And so, you may think that the NFL is this juggernaut with no stopping it in sight, and that's true in a lot of respects, because even if it goes down, it's one of the best properties that you could put on television. But still, that kind of, you never, as a business, want to see any numbers going down like that. And what if, Kelce and Taylor Swift break up? Now they're engaged to be married now, but you never know. At any moment they could break up, and then the whole Swiftie fan base goes away. All the merch they've been buying, all the jerseys they've been buying, all the extra eyeballs on the televisions they've been doing, all that goes away. And where are the ratings then? The ratings, of course, drive how much you can charge for advertising, and then the advertising is a huge part of the revenues that come into the NFL. So I thought that was interesting. Other people did not, based on how many people viewed the video. But something to watch as we move forward. And that's why I've been saying that the Kansas Swiftie Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. And just because they lost one game on the opening night does not mean they're not going to the Super Bowl. But I think they're going to go to the Super Bowl again. We'll see if the Chargers or the Broncos or the Bills or the Ravens or somebody else can knock them off. But it'll be very interesting to watch, and I think the NFL would hate it very much if the Chiefs, for example, didn't make the playoffs. What if the Chiefs had just a bad season and win 8 games and don't make the playoffs? Holy smokes. The NFL would hate that. God forbid. Woody says, the Brazil game was fun to watch, especially those pineapples. Yeah, I noticed that too. I was like, oh, look, she has pineapples on her breasts. Okay, I guess it's time to turn this off. They really treat you like you're you're a juvenile jackass, right? Let's put sexy lady with pineapples on titties. Let's put that on television. They'll like that, right, Bob? Yeah, they'll like it. They're football fans. They're morons, Mark says, yeah, Al Michaels. Al Michaels used to be great, but it does seem like he's a little bored these days. It seems like he needs to go into retirement. He used to be great. You know who is great? Mike Tirico. Now, there's a great announcer. Fantastic. And Gus Johnson. What about Gus Johnson on a college football game? Anybody does college football better than Gus Johnson? I don't think so. Mike Tirico, Gus Johnson. Those are some really good announcers. B. Goldie. Be interesting to see if Sammy D plays well or Cease goes against the San Francisco pass rush. Yeah, San Francisco is an interesting team. They have a lot of injuries. What's going on with CMC? He's got a calf. They say he's fine, but sat out practice. We don't know what's going on with him. And he's a key to their offense. And their defense is kind of you got Bosa, you got Warner, and you got a bunch of rookies. Mostly. Who else do they got? They got Bryce Huff. So I don't know. The Solid's defense this year, it's very possible that Solid's defense takes at least half a year to at least start playing good. They got a lot of rookies on that defense. And it'll be also interesting to see what kind of defenses Solid runs. Does he stick to his old wide 9 only and never blitzing kind of pattern? If that's the case, teams know how to hit that. So does Saleh adjust? So that'll be interesting to see. 49ers always interesting, but the 49ers have a very top-heavy team. They paid a lot of people, but they don't have a lot of depth. So if they have a couple of injuries to key players, they're going to be in trouble. Now the Seahawks, of course, are interesting because they have Darnold, but they also have Milroe, and they also have a really good defense, and they rebuilt their offensive line. So is the offensive line going to be better? If so, then they should have a better offense, and they should be able to run the ball with Kenneth, what's his name, and Charbonnet and the running backs. The offensive line is the key, but they also picked up Tank Lawrence in the offseason for the defensive line, and they already had a decent defensive line with Leonard Williams and a bunch of other people. So I think the Seahawks are a very interesting team. They could win that division. They could finish last in that division. It could go any which way with the Seahawks. That's a very interesting division, I think. And then you have the Cardinals, who really have to win. At some point, Jonathan Gannon has to win, right? Like, it's been the requisite amount of time. They've shown some improvement. They haven't been a disaster. They have Kyler Murray. They have to decide about what to do with him the next few years, I guess. Do they stick with him? Do they move on, etc.? But that team has to win. If they come in last in that division, Gannon's probably getting fired, right? At some point you have to win. It's nice that he instilled a new culture. It's nice that They've been kind of like steadily improving, but not winning enough yet. Okay, first couple of years, you're allowed to do that. Well, now it's time to win. They got the team. They got the quarterback. They got the receivers. They got, everything they need. They picked up Calais Campbell in the offseason, that monster. Glad to have him off of the Dolphins. And, it's time for the Cardinals to win. They got to win now. They got to make the playoffs, at least. Not the Super Bowl necessarily, but I would say for the Cardinals is playoffs or Gannon gets fired. That's what I would say. Cam is the connoisseur. Oh, we got some spam here. Cam is the connoisseur of cigars. Yeah, he also has very interesting fashion. Yeah, Anthony G says the bots are here already. Yeah, hopefully we can add to block list and restream. Okay. Yeah, what's interesting about those bots is somehow they get around the subscriber. This is supposed to be a subscribers only live stream, and somehow they get around it. These bots are very clever these days, Anthony. Very clever. All right. Now let's get into something else, shall we? Well, it's your show, Frankie. What are you talking about? Hang on a second. Hang on. 1 second. Because you may have missed something. File. Let's open the roster. May have missed something about the roster. We got a roster. Dooby-doo. Did you know, for example, that this is the practice squad right here? Well, you knew that, but did you know that Tyler Johnson got called up? Wide receiver Tyler Johnson did get called up for this game. We have one elevation. And because we didn't replace AVT on the 53 man, that means we will have 5 instead of 6 inactives today. Those inactives will be announced at 11:30. My goal would be to stay on this broadcast until 11:30 and we see the inactives. We'll have to see. And so obviously here we're going to keep track. Now, this is the roster document. This is one of many documents that channel members get for free. Well, it's not for free. If you're a paying member of this channel, you can click the join button underneath this video to do so. This is just one of many, many documents that you get. One of the things we're going to track who gets elevated every week. So you can see here, every week we're going to see which one of these dudes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, get elevated. Now, what we'll also do, because that's not so exciting, but what about predicting the inactives? Well, maybe somebody needs to keep track of their predictions, figure out how many you get right, and come up with a correct percentage. So I am currently predicting Asa Pohl, Tyler Barron, Cam Jones, Leonard Taylor III, and Jelani Woods to be the 5 inactives. Now I would say probably Pohl is almost certainly. The other ones are hard to guess. Woods is here because I thought, well, he needs a ramp-up period. He's probably not up to speed yet. Tight end is a difficult position to learn, so he's learning the offense from the tight end position. I figure he might be inactive for the first couple or 3 weeks of the season. Same thing with Cam Jones. We claimed him at the same time. He could be active because he's more of a special teamer, and special teams is kind of easier to learn. And he's also apparently very good at special teams. Tyler Barron's really just a numbers thing. It was hard to keep him on when it was basically between Tyler Barron and AZ Thomas. And then Leonard Taylor, kind of the same thing. Here's the 53-man roster. I mean, we're calling up Tyler Smith, so now we have a 6th wide receiver up here. Asa Pohl is a future project. We claimed him for basically next year. We already have 3 tight ends, so we're not going to be short any if Jelani Woods isn't active. And then here on the defense, it was hard to put these third stringers in there, basically. I don't know. Tell me what you guys think about the roster. Should we make anybody else inactive? I mean, I guess you could say Braden McGregor maybe could be inactive and Tyler Barron takes his spot. But Stiggers is a key special teamer. Oliver is a backup for everybody, basically. Oliver's a backup for left cornerback, right cornerback, free safety. He's a backup nickel. He's a backup. He's our dime. So Isaiah Oliver's a very important player. Malachi Moore is going to play on specials and is a backup. So it's basically, maybe you could think AZ Thomas, but I was thinking the team probably isn't as comfortable with Stiggers playing cornerback this year. He's kind of got to get his act together as far as that by next year, though it does seem like he's becoming a very good special teamer, so that's good. I don't know. Who else? I mean, we got to make 5 inactive. I wish they would get rid of that rule, but I mean, they could very easily get rid of the rule and just say, okay, 53 active, and anybody who has a minor injury, you put them on a 1-game injured list. I don't know why they don't do that. The union might not like it for some reason because they probably feel like teams would play around with injuries that way, unfairly to the player. I don't know. But if he made the case that, doing so would decrease injuries, maybe the union would go for it because you would need less backups and starters playing on special teams. Fewer, I guess you'd say. So that's where we are. So we'll also keep track of this all season and see about that. Anthony says, what about JJ? Well, they're 2 different positions. I understand that concern. I would say don't forget about Will McDonald. Will McDonald is our main sack guy. I mean, sacks can be, this is the other thing. Sacks can be generated in lots of different ways. And I think we're going to be blitzing way more this year. So sacks may come from Tony Adams and Andre Sisco and Brandon Stevens because we're doing crazy blitzing from the backfield. And then what about Sherwood and Williams? Certainly they're going to blitz more than they have in the past. Are they going to get home? And then Quinnen, don't forget about Quinnen. Now, Harrison Phillips is more of a run stuffer, but if Harrison Phillips is taking up double teams in the middle, that should free up Williams to get through in the middle. What about that? What about Spinny McWhinney? Is he improved? So Jermaine Johnson had a nice year, 7.5 sacks before he got hurt. But, that's 7.5 sacks. It's not like he proved that he could be, top of the league like a TJ Watt type. Maybe he could develop something close to that. But, it really just depends what they want to do. I mean, maybe they swap out Tufele with Taylor because the idea is that Briggs is more of the run stopper type. And so we want to keep a run stopper type next to a pass rusher type. And Tufele is also sort of like a run stopper type. So maybe Tufele is inactive and Taylor's second string here. You pair him with Briggs. Briggs is your run stopper a la Phillips. And then Taylor is your pass rush guy a la Quinnen. Although Quinnen's an all-around type dude. Maybe that's the idea, Anthony. That could be. But Wilks seems to really like Tufele, so I could see that happening. Let's keep sort of a similar structure to the starters with our second string. And the guy who brings the pass rush juice from a defensive tackle out of these 3 is Taylor. So I could see that. But don't forget, we should be blitzing more. which, of course, is high risk, high reward. It's not like Aaron Rodgers has never seen a blitz. You got to be good at it. Got to do surprising things. Got to make him think one thing and then do another. So we'll see how that chess match plays out in this game. That'll be something very interesting when we get to watch Steve Wilks and Aaron Glenn. How do they attack the first game together? I think Steve Wilks should be very, very motivated to get another shot as a head coach in a year or two or three, because he's gotten treated very badly. I think he got scapegoated in Carolina. I think he got scapegoated in Arizona when he was down there 1 year. They gave him 1 year and they gave him Josh Rosen and then they fire him. That's kind of crazy. Then he went to San Francisco, had the third best defense in the league. They go all the way to the Super Bowl. They lose the Super Bowl, and then he gets scapegoated again and gets fired. So I think Steve Wilks should have a little chip on his shoulder. This is, from all reports, a very good defensive mind. And I'm sure he wants another shot, one more shot at a head coaching gig. And so, he should be very motivated to basically have an incredible defense that maybe in a year or two, if he proves it year over year, a couple of years here with a really strong defense, and maybe he can get a shot as a head coach. I'm sure he wants to prove himself in that regard. The team, he didn't draft Josh Rosen. How does he get fired after Steve Keim drafts Josh Rosen instead of Josh Allen? That's not Steve Wilks' fault. So, and then they fire him after a year to get Cliff Kingsbury in there and Kyler, Cliff and Kyler, the KK show. And that didn't work out too good. So, yeah, we'll see. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of things we're running. And, of course, we will keep track of those things. JoJo is here. JoJo was a man from Tucson, Arizona. Get back, JoJo. Wilks said the words of doom this week. We had a great week. Well, every coach says that, JoJo. Every coach around the league, every capacity, offense, defense, head coach, they all say the same basic things. We had a great week of practice. I like what I saw in practice. The guys are practicing really well. So they all say that. They have to say something to these media jackals, JoJo. What do you want them to say? It's kind of like the amount of, there's way too many press conferences, I think. Why do they have the head coach talk to the media 4 times a week? 4 times every week. Like Monday, there should be no Monday press conference. It's really dumb. They have the head coach talk after the game. Okay, I understand that. You want the immediate raw, reaction right after the game when emotions are high. Okay. But then why does he have to come back on Monday? The head coach never has anything really interesting to say on Monday. He doesn't know the extent of injuries, generally speaking. They always say, well, we got to see the testing. This guy went out of the game. All right. We got to find out about the testing. I'll let you know on Wednesday. And then by Wednesday, they usually know about the injuries. So why don't they just let him come back on a Wednesday? 4 times a week is too much. And then the coordinators have to talk 1 time a week, usually on a Thursday. And it's like, do we need to hear from the coordinators every week? Really? What are these people going to say? They can't tell you what's really going on. They're never going to be honest. But they have to come up with something because they're required to be there and say stuff. So they come up with these cliches and these things to say because they have to answer the questions. But it's just like, it's the NFL publicity machine. Just churning and churning, let's get more publicity. Let's get more people saying things, and maybe somebody will say something, headline worthy and so forth and so on. But yeah, they all say that, JoJo. Steve Wilks is not the only coach to say that. Every single coach says that. And that's the other thing to watch for, too, when you're talking about these coaches. you know, there's just certain things that people say, and they all say them, and it's just sort of like par for the course. And then there's other things they say where it's like, wait a minute, what? Hang on, he said something interesting. Sometimes that happens. So we'll just have to see about that. And we'll also have to see how my predictions of Asa Poll, Tyler Barron, Cam Jones, Leonard Taylor III, and Jelani Woods being inactive. We'll see how closely I get that. We'll at 11:30 we'll know what the actual inactives are, and then we'll know how many I got correct, and we'll keep track of it right here, right now. So there you go. One of the many, many documents that members of this channel receive as part of their fees. Small amount of money. We do have tiered levels. We got the inner circle, we got the inner square, we got the inner triangle, whatever fits your budget. The lowest budget is like $2 a month. Kick in a couple dollars a month. Why not, to support old Frankie? We got to do all this data. Here's the other data that we're going to be tracking as the season moves along. And of course, channel members will get access to all of this. So for every game, and you can see I didn't do a good job of capturing it for the Green Bay game and the Eagle game. But we're also going to track all of this information for all of the regular season games. This is the offense. We're going to see how we're looking under the hood, some of the underlying data from our offense. This is the offense. These are some of the things that we keep track of with our drive charts, which are right over here. So we'll have those. Bradigan's here. Good to see Chris Bradigan. Let's effing go, indeed. And here's the defense. So these are all some of the things that we're going to be tracking, as the season moves along. And we'll see some trends. We'll see how we're doing. We'll see all of the things that you would want to see from a data analytics perspective, and see what that's all about. And of course, channel members get this as well. Channel members get everything. Let's be honest. If you're a channel member, you've already seen playbooks. You've seen pages ripped out of playbooks, current NFL playbooks. And just so many things. There's just so many things. Okay, here's the news. Breaking news. Zach Rosenblatt, as expected, retweets Connor Hughes, who says, sources, the Jets will start Josh Myers at center and Joe Tippmann at guard today as they work to replace Elijah Vera Tucker. Breaking news as of 32 minutes ago. Now, why isn't Connor showing up on my feed? All right, so let me change this. All right, Connor's going to break news. He's got to be on my feed here and remove from lists. Oh, I didn't have him on there. Okay, now he's on there. So here's what, let's take a look. Here's what the feed is looking like. And just a little pro tip, you can use X. If you're not a big fan of X or whatever, you can use it as a feed, information feed, news feed. For example, here's a list of all the Jet beat writers. So whenever they post anything, all of them, I get it immediately. Here's Zach Rosenblatt taking a picture of Aaron Rodgers, talking to, I think, probably Tyrod Taylor on the field there. And Andy Vasquez does the same thing. And you'll notice these writers do all the same crap. They copy each other. They're not very original. They're not very good at their jobs. They always post a picture of the stadium when they get to the press box. So here's the press box here. right? They always, as soon as they get to the press box, what they do, they take a picture of the field and then they say something stupid like, we're here, we out here. They might say something about the weather, but this is what they do. A real football game soon, Andy says, and notice he takes a picture of the field. They all do exactly the same. But there are three people who break news consistently. It's Zach, Connor, and Rich. Those are the only ones who ever break news, really, from the Jet beat. And today, Connor Hughes, breaking news. The Jets will start Josh Myers at center, Joe Tippmann at guard as they work to replace. Now, that's no surprise to anyone. Why, AG was so cagey about it, I don't know. He thought it was a strategic advantage for him to keep it a secret. He even said so. How do I know that? He said so. But this one was kind of obvious. I don't know what strategic advantage you get over the Steelers. Keep the Steelers guessing who our right guard's going to be. I don't think they're really too concerned about that. But nonetheless, information's coming out now about that. Now, something that didn't happen that we did expect to happen was that we didn't call up any offensive linemen from the practice squad. I thought for sure Marquise Hayes would get the call up, or Cole Laval, or somebody. We only have 3 or 4 offensive linemen on the practice squad, but I thought, with AVT going out, you would think that an O lineman would get the call up. We did not. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But this is the news anyways. Connor gets the news. So it could be that Connor Hughes is the one who's still going to get the Jets. When the Jets want to put something out, they give it to Connor Hughes. That's generally the way it's been over the last few years. Sometimes it's Rosenblatt, but they're probably not too happy with Rosenblatt with his terrible reporting over the years when he talked to all those disgruntled employees that we fired and wrote a terrible story about that. So they'll probably just give it to Connor. You would have to think that these sources are the Jets' sources. Who else would know about it? Well, Tippmann could have told his agent or something, but so that's interesting. It seems like Connor Hughes is going to continue to be the Jets' mouthpiece, and that's something you got to keep in mind with some of these beat reporters is who's giving them the information, and then that's how you help interpret what they're trying to tell you. Samini has some good tweets today, I would say. He's flying under the radar because most of the attention is on Aaron Glenn, but this is a big day for first-time OC Tanner Engstrand. Want to get on the good side of Jets fans? Score early. Last season, the Jets didn't score a first drive TD until game 14. That's a good point. Have a strong opening drive. A lot of times, a lot of these OCs, especially in college, you see this. Their first drive will be incredible, and you think, oh, wow, this team's going to be amazing. And then the rest of the drives for the rest of the day are not as good. Well, that first drive is usually scripted, and they put a lot of effort and time into the script. And so a lot of times it goes well, and then the rest of the game isn't as scripted, and it doesn't go as well. But with the Jets, that hasn't been the case. But it would be nice to have a game where, we have a nice long drive and score a touchdown, not a field goal, right away. That would certainly make for a more optimistic fan base. So apparently it's raining now again, and Connor Hughes makes a note. Justin Fields struggled mightily in the rain-soaked Jets practice during camp, fumbled a couple of times, accuracy major concern. Fields is warming up right now with gloves as rain falls at MetLife, could help with grip. So again, we're having rain problems. Again, this is another problem with being located in New Jersey. It just rains every time we have a game. It rains. So when you have a rain game or a weather game, you don't really, it sort of negates, it has a potential to negate who you are as a team. Everybody knows that. That's why it sort of evens out the odds of who's going to win, because you can't really execute as well in the weather. Jermaine Johnson and Quinnen Williams share a loving embrace with Aaron Rodgers. And, of course, all the photographers snapping photos. So a lot of love going back and forth. But as soon as, it's time. Now, Jermaine Johnson is an interesting one because when he tore his Achilles, Aaron Rodgers paid for a private flight back to California for Jermaine on his own dime. Rodgers did. So that was a very nice thing for him to do for his teammate. So, of course, they have a special connection, the Achilles brothers. And, of course, Quinnen, being a leader of the team. So, yeah, it just sucks that there's always weather with the Jets. But what are you going to do? It's New Jersey, and you didn't put a dome on the field, so on the stadium. And we're never getting out of the stadium, by the way. We're never, ever, ever leaving the stadium. So anybody who thinks we're getting a new stadium or we're going to leave the stadium any time, we will not. We will not. It's MetLife forever. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you enjoy the rain, the snow, the polar vortex, the winds, whatever it may be. Now, hopefully we could just run the hell out of the ball and the rain isn't a problem. We just run, and maybe the defense is slipping and so forth, and we're just running. That'd be nice. We don't have to pass that much. Maybe that's an advantage. There's no passing in this offense. We're just going to run, and it's going to rain, and it's going to be snow and terrible field conditions, and that's how we play. Rain, snow, run the ball. So there you go. So we'll have to see yet another rain game. Not good for television, but hey. So JoJo says, Twitter X is great for sports. Yeah, I think so. I mean, you can really tailor your news feeds for however you want. So I have the Jet Beat writers in one list. I have the NFL national writers in another list. I have football analytical people in another list. So you can really tailor the feeds that you want on various subjects. And you don't have to pay. I mean, you could pay if you want to, but you don't have to pay. And you could just keep the feed coming. If you don't want to if you don't want to say anything or write anything, or, you're just there for the feed aspect, you don't have to pay for it. Keep it free. And, you're just there to help tailor the news, because part of the problem is there's a lot of news sources these days, a lot. As we transition from the old model of having 3 networks, and that was it, and everybody watched the 3 networks, nightly news and all this. As we're transitioning now away from the cable era, so we went from the 3 network news channels, and then we went to 24-hour news with cable and CNN and all the channels and so forth. And now we're splintering even further into the internet era of podcasts and social media and everything else, and YouTube. And as that happens now, there's a lot of information. And if you don't know how to filter it, you got a big problem, because there's a lot of people that I mute on Twitter because I don't want to see their stuff, because it comes up in the For You list. And I don't want to see some people just post ridiculous crap, so they get muted. And then I don't see them. But you need to filter that stuff out. Otherwise, you get overwhelmed. I mean, Facebook is horrible. I don't know how anybody's on Facebook anymore. But at least with X, when you have people that, are just terrible for what they're writing and they're just awful, you just mute them. and for one thing, and then you put the good people that you want to hear from into a list, and then you don't even have to follow them, but then they're on a list, and then you can pin the list to your to the top of your thing when you want to see it there. Otherwise, it goes in another place, and so you can check it out when you want to. And it's sort of like, you really have to take control of this social media stuff. Otherwise, you're just getting information from all these places and you don't know what to trust, what's good information, what's bad information, et cetera, et cetera. Jojo says Adam Gase was great for first drives. Yeah, he probably spent all of his time scripting that first drive. And then when things go haywire and the other team adjusts to what you're doing, you need to adjust back. And I guess he couldn't do that. So, B-Trav, can we script an effing opening drive score for once? We have to be among the worst at this for the last 10 years. Yeah. Let's just have a good offense, shall we, B-Trav? Let's just have a good offense. Score first drive, second drive, third drive. I mean, what's so hard about scoring 3 touchdowns and 2 field goals? That's really all we're talking about. Can we get 3 touchdowns and 2 field goals per game? Why is that so hard? And yet, if we did that, we would be one of the top scoring units in the whole league in terms of drive percentage and in terms of points. So that's the way to think about it. Just 3 touchdowns, 2 field goals. Why is it so hard? Not hard. One thing I will be looking forward to, I would think that now when we get in the low red zone, it's hard to score in the low red zone because everything's so compressed. Think about it. There's the same amount of defenders, 11, in the low red zone as anywhere else, but in the low red zone, they only have to cover a small amount of the field, right? So it's harder some would say it's harder to score down there. Well, one of the things we have now is called Justin Fields' legs, which, as if you watched any football of other teams, college, etc., for example, John Mateer last night looked very good this way. You can use your legs to score in the low red zone because the quarterback, they say that's an extra hat. You get an extra hat, meaning an extra blocker, when the quarterback is the one running the ball. It's 11-on-11 football, hard to keep track of that quarterback who can run. Well, in the low red zone, I would expect. Let's see if it happens, but I would expect that Justin will use his legs to get into the end zone from the low red zone, and that's an option we didn't really have as much these last few years. You would have thought that Zach Wilson would have been better with that, but even though he has good lateral quickness and decent speed, he was not a good runner of the football, generally speaking. He didn't have the instincts. Like if you watched John Mateer last night, that guy has great football instincts, great running instincts. And they were talking about it on the broadcast. Just as an example, Zach did not. Now, Zach is a basketball player. He just didn't have that. Billy, 66, 37 years of pain. Yeah, man. I mean, part of being a Jet fan is the pain management exercise that you get. The pain management aspect of this whole thing. I've often said being a Jet fan is just a way to increase your pain tolerance. It's just a way to make you be able to withstand pain more in your life. Like it's a life exercise. That's the point of it. It's to make you feel pain. What's more painful than being a Jet fan? Well, a lobotomy is kind of painful. Like, dental surgery, it's kind of painful. Or, getting shot, that kind of hurts. Getting stabbed, okay, that's painful. But, somewhere along the line, being a Jet fan is very painful. And being able to still show up to work the next day with your buddies, going, you lost again, huh? Oh, so sorry for you. There's something to be said for the resilience. What about the resilience of being a Jet fan? I think it's very valuable. All right, let's check the following. And then the other thing I do, I follow all the teams. The actual teams have a Twitter account, and I follow all of them. And I want to see what these teams are posting up on X, so that way I can compare what the Jets are doing. See some of these other dudes arriving. DK Metcalf in the building. Game 1 with the Pats. Stephon Diggs shows up with the motorcycle jacket and the jeans and boots. It's also interesting to see some of these dudes, what they wear. Very interesting fashion choices for these young men. Things I would not wear, but works for them. Some dude on the Cleveland Browns is all in black. They said stealth mode activated. He's got some kind of fancy pants on. So I'm just seeing if the Jets announced anything interesting. It doesn't seem like they did. And all the teams really post the same kind of stuff. The Jets, the Jets are doing something new. Fit of the day. Fit of the day. Joe Butis here says 68. Well, you gotta work on your resilience, Joe. That's the whole point of it. Remember Batman, Joe? Don't you remember Batman? When they say, what is the point of getting knocked down? What's the point of that, Joe? It's so that you can learn how to get back up. That's the point. That was right out of Batman, Joe. It's trying to teach you a lesson, buddy. Look at this. Fit of the day. The Jets are doing something a little different than the other teams. And it's Andre Cisco, Ocho Cisco. Fit of the day. Look at that. Again, that's not something I would wear, but hey, it works for you. Works for you, buddy. Fit of the day, Ocho Cisco. I don't know what's going on. This looks like he has silly string all over his sweater, but hey, it works for him. That's what I'm saying. This wouldn't work for Frankie, but it would work for Ocho Cisco. So the Jets are doing fit of the day. All the other teams do basically the same thing we do, which is show their players, coming into the stadium when their clothing and so forth. All the teams do exactly the same thing as far as that. We did something a little different, fit of the day. They show pictures of people. They show videos of the guys walking in, so forth. The Steelers are showing some pictures of the fans in the parking lot at MetLife, and there's puddles and stuff. It doesn't look like the rain is too bad. It's overcast, very overcast. But at least in these pictures and videos, there's puddles on the ground. It's wet, but it doesn't look like the rain is pouring or anything, at least at this moment in time, or when that video picture was taken. So we're coming up on 11:30. We got 12 minutes to go. We're trying to see who the inactives are. Then after that, I'll cut this and then come back at 1 p.m. for the live stream during the show. So nothing really from the teams. Justin Fields wearing gloves. Yeah. So that's what's really going on. Justin Fields is wearing gloves in pregame. It's overcast and rainy. But, Connor Hughes notes that Fields struggled mightily in the rain-soaked practice. From what I remember, it was like pouring that day. So there's a difference between rain and pouring rain. Some light rain, probably not going to affect him much. He has played in the snow a lot, of course. Played in Chicago. So he has played in weather quite a number of games. So shouldn't be anything new to him. but it's just going to depend on if it's pouring rain or, just light rain probably isn't going to affect things too much. But if it starts pouring, it's different. And if there's lightning in the area, then there might be game delays, which would kind of suck. But that's what you get when you have a team in New Jersey and you don't put a dome. Do. Yeah, this is what I'm saying, Brian. Only 17. That's what I'm trying to say. If we scored just 3 touchdowns and 2 field goals, we would. That's exactly what I said. We'd be at the top of the league. Why is that so hard? I'm trying to make a funny point, Brian. We averaged 19.9. Yeah. But, you got to set your sights high, Brian. You got to shoot for the stars. You shoot for the stars. Like, it's better to shoot for the stars and miss than to shoot for the mud and make it. You ever hear that, Brian? It's better to shoot for the stars and miss than to shoot for the mud and make it. We got to shoot for the stars, Brian. Even if we don't make it. Why is it better that way? Because you'll come closer to your goal if you aim high. We don't want to set the target low. Aim high. First of all, you might just make it. And then second of all, even if you don't, you might come close. And that would be good. I don't think so, Phil. No, that's not for me. These dudes, man, they got their own sense of style, these young men. It's not for me. Not for me. I'm more of a classic guy. I want to bring back, like fedoras and ties and, suits and jackets and, things like that. I like to go to the classics. These dudes have some things that they wear. It's like, what is going on here? But it works for them. It's a young man's game, and these people also have so much money. You wonder how many. You wonder some of these young men. You wonder how much they get hit up by like clothing companies. Like, hey, wear my clothing when you walk in, because these clothing companies know that these players get their picture taken and videos and so forth. So you wonder if they get paid to wear some of this stuff. It would be valuable to the company. Then they can say, I mean, look at this thing. Like, I'm not wearing this. Look at this thing on the left. I'm not wearing this. I don't know what's going on here, but it works for him. It works for him. Look, this is okay. I might wear this. This is pretty. I wouldn't wear this. This is a little too much Mr. T for me, but works for him. I think this is KT. This is a little laid back. See, this is something I would wear right here. I like this. And actually, this is what this guy's. Look at this dude. He's just wearing a sweatshirt and sweatpants. This is probably more my style. But I like this here. I like the hat. Hat is good. I would say that's A+. The chains, I mean, they don't look bad. Not saying that. Not for me, but I would say KT's got the best fit here. The chains work for him. Work for him. Doesn't work for me. And this is probably the worst fit out of the 3. In my opinion. So the Jacksonville Jaguar game, also raining. 86. Theirs is 86 degrees and raining. There in Jacksonville. 86 degrees, humid and raining. So the beat reporters are not, they're probably eating their free hot dogs. They get free food at the stadium too. The Jets feed the beat reporters. So they feed the people who literally tell lies about them and stuff. It's kind of crazy. Yes, JoJo, we'll be live streaming the game. For those who are curious, we will be doing a live stream on this channel. The reason is that Green Bean and Jeremy and a bunch of other people like Alan Dodds are at the stadium. And so there will be no live stream on the Green Bean channel in case you were looking forward to that. But as a substitute, we'll live stream the game here on this channel, on the Frankie from Flatbush channel. We'll do a live stream. We'll do our drive charts. We will try and do as good a job as Green Bean and Jeremy often do over there on the Green Bean channel. And then next week, we'll all three of us be back on the Green Bean channel, I believe. But yes, 1 p.m. JoJo live stream here on the Frankie from Flatbush channel, FSPN, because FESPN. That's why. So yeah, watch the game here on FSPN. Come on back at 1 p.m. We're just waiting for the inactives to be announced, which should happen within the next 5 minutes. And then we'll cut this live stream and then be back over at 1 p.m. Frankie Solo, Joe. Yeah, well, it's going to be a lot to keep track of. As you know, I do the drive chart, so we got to keep track of the data and then also keep some interesting commentary going, if possible. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. Joe, yeah, I know, Joe. It's terrible. Nobody wears a tie anymore. Nobody wears a tie. Nobody wears a hat. You take a look at these pictures from the olden days. Everybody's got on a nice tie. Everybody's got a hat. The ladies are wearing, those long gloves. Ladies are dressed up nicely. Men were dressed up nicely. Everything was nice. And, I don't know what happened. What happened, Joe? What happened? I think that's one thing that women could really stipulate that. Like if women said, listen, we're not dating anybody who looks like a bum. We don't care how much status you have. We're dating only gentlemen who wear, hats, nice ties, a suit. That's what we're going for, in terms of dating and so forth. They did that. It would change like that. Braden is here from New Zealand. Good to see Braden. He says he needs some coffee. Well, coffee is not provided on the Coffee with Frankie show. So for them, some people, they might think, oh, coffee with Frankie. Frankie provides the coffee, right? No, I cannot provide the coffee to you. You have to provide your own coffee, and then I have my own coffee here in the Jets mug. We don't even have coffee mugs for sale. We can't even do that. We can't even get our act together as far as that is concerned. Brian Costello says, Brandon Eccles, revenge game. Ha. Anybody worse in the media than Brian Costello? Well, I would say it's probably a tie with Rich Cimini, Brian Costello, to the worst. They've been around for 40, 50 years. Maybe they should retire, some people might say. They don't seem to have much fun at these games. They don't seem to enjoy what they're doing, and yet they refuse to retire. Boycott says, I need to become, yeah. Well, that's the thing. And Les, thank you for becoming a member of the Inner Circle. Look at the Posts tab on the channel. Used to be called the Members tab. Now it's called Posts. And that's where you will find links and passwords to the folders that contain all of the things that you might be looking for, Les. So take a look at the Posts tab. There's some links and some passwords for the folders. All right. No word yet on the inactives. We're waiting. Should be within the next minute. Should be. Oh. My beans are about to get grinded. All right, you got to grind your beans. Sometimes you got to grind your beans. Phil Adams' suit collar tie will come back into fashion soon enough. Let's hope so, Phil. Let's hope so. But it's really what the women are going to say. Browns inactives. Shador Sanders is inactive today, but he is the emergency quarterback. Defensive tackle Mike Hall, guard Zach Zinter, tackle KT Leviston, wide receiver Gage Lavardane. Don't know who that is. See if the Jets post theirs. It is 11:30 right now. Let's see. Tampa Bay inactive. So the Commanders, Josh Johnson, Chris Rodriguez, A.L.K. Ho, who cares? And the Buccaneers, Godwin, Wirfs. So it's still up in the air whether we're going to see Godwin or Wirfs in our game, but they're inactive today for the Bucs, which means they didn't put them on any kind of list. So we might see them, we might not. No announcement just yet. Costello says Brandon Eccles revenge game, but he doesn't say Chooks Okorafor revenge game. Yeah. What about that? All right, I'm probably going to get this here. Nope. Other teams are producing theirs. Cardinals, Will Hernandez, Bam Knight, remember him? He's inactive for the Cardinals. Patriots, Christian Gonzalez, Charles Woods, Efton Chisholm, inactive. He was somebody who was great in their camp. He's inactive today. Tommy DeVito, third quarterback. Miami, Jalen Wright, Quinn Ewers, Ethan Bonner, Kendall Lamb, Darren Waller, Taj Washington, Zeke Biggers. Jets have not put theirs out. Colts, Jonathan Edwards, cornerback, Tyler Goodson, Riley Leonard. So Riley Leonard made their squad, interestingly. Not sure why. But he's the emergency third quarterback. Will Mallory, Chad Muma, so forth and so on. Doop-a-doo. Jets are late. The Jets, I have noticed with this new regime, they do wait to the last minute to do this sort of stuff. Inactives for the Raiders, Tristan McCollum, Raheem Mostert inactive. Other guys, I don't think people would know who they are. J.J. Pegways, defensive tackle. That's somebody we could have taken in the draft. He's inactive for the Raiders. So Christian McCaffrey will play for the 49ers. So there was some concern about that. Report is that he will play today. We'll see how much he plays and how good. Still no word from the Jetsies. Gangrene Gene. Yeah, but it'll be solo today on this channel, Gangrene. Hi Karate says, I would love a win, but I'll be content if we show improvement. Well, I mean, it's a whole new crew. So I would like to see competence. I wouldn't put it as improvement. I would just say competence. You know, if we look the part, if we look good and it's not embarrassing, Hi Karate, you know what I'm saying? We all know the feeling when it looks embarrassing. It's like, God damn this team. Can we just get competent offense? Man, it's 34. Where's the inactives? Aren't they required to be out by now? What the hell's going on here? Don't they know we're hanging on every word? This is really annoying. But I have noticed that the Jets under this regime, they do kind of wait till the last minute to announce this stuff. Still no announcement that I've seen. No more embarrassment. Yeah. Can we just be competent and look like a team that knows what the hell it's doing? We all know what that looks like, or we know what the opposite looks like. So we just need to be a competent team this year that, looks like it knows what it's doing. So Gangrene Gene says it's raining, but not that hard. All right. What's the forecast, Gene? Is it going to stay that way, or is it going to come down like cats and dogs later? Whoa. What? So the Jets put out their inactives. I got it wrong. I got it totally wrong. Boy, oh boy. Alan Lazard is inactive. Braden McGregor is inactive. And Leonard Taylor. So that means Cam Jones is active. This means that Tyler Barron's going to be playing. Holy smokes. Holy smoke. I cannot believe Tyler Barron's going to get snaps in this game. Holy cow. Whew. I mean, Lazard being inactive. Lazard being inactive is going to raise speculation that he's getting traded after this game, maybe to the Steelers. Let's be honest. Maybe it's possible that Alan Lazard, and that's maybe why we haven't replaced AVT on the roster. Maybe Lazard's getting traded to the Steelers after this game. I mean, why else would he be inactive? And then McGregor, these other three I can see, I can understand. But McGregor means that, what this means to me, Lazard might get traded and supposed to stop around 1, cloudy until 6. Well, cloudy, we don't care. That doesn't matter. No, these are two different positions, JoJo. Why not keep one of our young wide receivers then? Well, we kept him on the P squad, Anthony, so we still have all of them. But maybe they didn't. So the speculation would be here that we didn't want to trade Lazard to the Steelers before this game for obvious reasons, right? But we also don't want him to get hurt, right? More hurt. He had a shoulder injury, supposedly good to go. And maybe we just want to shelve him, make sure he doesn't get any more hurt, or in the game, and then maybe after the game next week, maybe we're trading him to the Steelers. For what? I don't know. We need draft capital. I would. But that's going to be the speculation now, that Lazard's going to get traded to the Steelers after the game. That's the only way, unless he just is more injured than they let on. That could be the other thing, is like, no, his shoulder just isn't 100%, so we're just making him inactive for another week, and then he'll be back next week. But the interesting one to me is Braden McGregor. So let's now maybe we got something in Tyler Barron that we didn't think of before. Somebody left a comment on my channel yesterday about Tyler Barron, saying that he's hearing that Tyler Barron is showing more in practice than he did in the preseason games. And I was like, yeah, right. But let's see something. So that means that Tyler Barron is the second string defensive end. So Barron is playing. So maybe he'll do something. I mean, if that 5th round pick is actually useful, that would be very surprising, but also a very welcome development. So here we are now. So now I just moved Tyler Barron ahead of McGregor. Cam Jones is playing. So that means we have 5 linebackers active. That's really about special teams. And I had Lazard as a starting slot. Okay, well, for one game, he's not. So that means, well, we also have these guys will be probably Xavier Gibson probably starts in the slot, but these guys will move around. Arian Smith, and we have Tyler Johnson here, but Lazardo goes that way. So it was Lazard, Pohl, Woods, McGregor, and Taylor. Well, maybe that person who wrote into my channel was correct. You never know. Well, Duncan, I mean, you have to know who your first stringers and second stringers are. The new king of strain. I mean, he didn't show anything, Jojo. That's what I was thinking. Where's this Jojo come? Yeah. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking there's no way he's going to be active. So, man. All right. So McGregor inactive, Taylor inactive. Well, let's see what Tyler Barron can do. We're very, very short on defensive ends. Our defensive end 3 is Michael Clemens. Our defensive end 4 is Tyler Barron, everybody. So the Lazard news could mean one of two things. Either he's more injured than we thought, and they just said, you know what, take another week, and we'll be back next week, no problem. Or we're trading him, and we just are trading him to the Steelers, and we needed to get past this game before we pull the trigger on that for obvious reasons. And maybe Alan Lazard is going over to the Steelers next week. So that's what the speculation is going to be. And it's either one of those two things. Either his shoulder just wasn't right and they just needed to give it another week and then he just resumes his normal role, or we're going to make a trade. So we'll have to see about that. But we won't have to see Alan Lazard dropping passes today or catching passes or doing anything because he's inactive. All right. So that's somewhat surprising, but first week, it's always kind of hard to predict what the heck is going to go on with the team. You never know about the minor injuries, and you never know who they like better than the other guy. So Tyler Barron over Braden McGregor was the surprise for me, the big surprise. And having 5 linebackers, it doesn't really surprise me that much. I mean, Cam Jones is mostly going to be special teams, and so is Kiko, and so is McCrary. So those guys are going to play, significant roles on specials in addition to being backup linebackers. So that's not too surprising. But all of the defensive backs are active, including A.Z. Thomas, and 3 tight ends, not 4. So it'll be interesting. So I got Jelani Woods right, at least. And I got Pohl, that was an easy one, and Taylor right. So I basically got 60% correct. Not too bad. But Jelani Woods, it'll be interesting to see when Jelani Woods then is ready to make an impact. It's not too surprising to me that he's not yet ready because, like I said, tight end is hard to acclimate to, so probably a couple of weeks away. Let's see if there's any insightful reporting by the beat. Nope. They are not saying anything that we don't already know. They are noting that Lazard is a healthy scratch because he wasn't on the injury report, which is interesting. If he was more injured than we thought, if any of the training staff touches a guy during the week, they have to go on the injury report. So if it's not injury related, then that's going to fuel, again, speculation about a trade. So if he's just a healthy scratch, like they're speculating that he is, to me, that could mean a trade. And maybe we're getting a player back. Maybe we're getting 2 players back. Because we do have an open roster spot. I don't know. Interesting. All right, so we'll shut this down for now. We will see you guys at 1 o'clock, just over an hour to kick off. Yeah, 1 p.m. Eastern time. We will be back on this channel. Joe Buda says, are there still veteran defensive ends out? Yeah, Jadeveon Clowney. Could get him tomorrow. We could have signed Zadarius Smith up until last week, Joe, but we decided not to. Some freaking reason. But anyway, so join me at 1 o'clock. We'll do a live stream of the program. If you're new here, please subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get up to 1,000 subscribers. Would appreciate your help with that. Otherwise, give the video a thumbs up, milk thumbs for the algorithm, and consider joining the inner circle, the membership group. It's the join button underneath the video. You get special things like playbooks and roster breakdowns and lots of other things that you might enjoy. And that being said, I'll see you guys at 1